Welcome to Hair Matters, one of the most popular podcasts in the Boston area, sponsored by Noelle Salon. Thank you for tuning in this week, as we have a special guest, psychic medium and friend of Noelle Salon, Ellen Damsky. Now, here is Noelle and Aurora.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
I'd like to introduce you and thank you for being part of this show.
Because like the Ed McMahon now of Hair Matters.
Yes, and you will be receiving a reading from Ellen. So,
yes. This could be very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
So we're going to answer the burning question, are psychics real?
I want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know.
I mean, I have my opinion.
Have you been read before?
I have.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen actually works at the salon a few days a week, and she's done a lot of readings for our clients, and they have come back to me and told me a little bit later that what she has said has been spot on. So kudos to you, Ellen. So, Ellen, I know you have a degree, a PhD, actually, in philosophy. So you don't wear black, you know, some crazy get-ups. You're just a regular gal like the rest of us.
We don't have candles lit.
No.
In the dark
She's
or something
just
like that with a Ouija board.
So when did you first figure out you were psychic?
I think I always knew I was intuitive. I don't know that I called it psychic. I didn't know what it was, and I think I thought everybody was. So you often hear psychics tell their story and about all sorts of weird things that happened when they were kids, and people sitting at the edge of their bed that died 20 years before, and you know, imaginary friends and all that. And I never had any of that, but I always trusted my gut, I think is a good way to put it.
I think you have a good instinct, but let's ask you this. Do you think psychics, most of them, are frauds?
Let's jump right in.
I want to ask that question. I want to know what you think.
Did you say most?
Well,
I would say not most.
Not most.
But I don't have nobody has a list of all the psychics. But I would say in almost anything that we do in life, there's an element that's fraudulent. But I think that psychics are attacked brutally.
So you have mentioned that you've had some great clients that you've worked with and your favorite things to do. And I know you've done missing cases and things like that. So could you kind of talk more about some of the really cool clientele that you've had with your psychic readings and drawings and things like that?
Okay. I should probably explain first that I also do what's called spirit art or spirit.
But you've personally worked on missing persons cases.
Have, yeah,
and have you had success?
Yes, but unfortunately most missing persons cases do turn out to be murder cases, homicide cases.
So they're usually, unfortunately, dead.
Yeah. So I have been trained to be able to at least assess whether a person is missing or not missing, although it's something truthfully I don't like to do.
I'm sure you wouldn't, but what tools do you use? Do you draw the person or draw their whereabouts that they could be missing out?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've learned to do also, is location. Some people learn remote viewing, which I think is the term everybody's probably familiar with these days because it's been done by the government.
Right.
It's
psychic spies.
Psychic spies, right. But to me, it's almost like taking the intuitive and moving it over to the left brain. It's very protocol driven, not surprisingly because it is government. So it can be quite different. But going back to what you said about fraudulent, particularly when you're dealing possibly with criminal cases, one thing that I've learned that I didn't know before is that if the police get a tip, they follow up on it. No matter what it is.
Whatever the psychic gives them?
Not even the psychic, just anybody. If any of us, if we all called.
But they legitimately take a psychic's word.
They don't really like when we sort of download them with information without being asked for it. I've been told by several teachers not to just pass something on to the police, but some police feel differently. I've had one chief of police tell me if I feel something strongly, I should absolutely be in contact.
Now, do you feel something strong with the location of the missing person or with the suspect, or does it really even matter? You just feel something in general?
Well, you do try to be as specific as you can in almost every reading that you do, or else it really can lead everybody astray, whether it's law enforcement or just a reading. For instance, the unfortunate case a few months back of the young woman in Boston that was abducted for a few days.
Mhm.
Fortunately, she was found and found
Right.
alive. But I did see blue in front of his place of residence, and it turned out that there was a blue awning there. I don't know, because I never submitted it to anybody, whether or not that would have helped in any
Did this
kind of
just
way.
come to you, or were you specifically working to
I-
see if you could find her?
Situation, because she is a friend of my daughter's.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
So, the better part of me really wanted to try to help in some way, but yet at the same time, there's still the resistance that there often is. Here comes a crazy psychic
Right.
along
and-
saying, she knows or whatever. So I actually did call the Boston police and
What?
explained what I do, and I explained that there would be resistance, but I felt like I wanted to give the information, and I was told to call back the next day. And
Hmm.
yeah, and to me, 8
Well, that's
hours was-
unfortunate.
It was,
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
unfortunate. Well, so I know that in the salon, I have witnessed you say some amazing things to the clients that it's actually, so I'll just give you a scenario. People sit down, they're having their hair done. Ellen comes over, gives the card of the day. If she saw you, Dan, she'd
The
probably
card of the day.
the card of
Okay,
the day.
I didn't know that was done.
Yeah, so she'll give them a little insight, and if they're smart, they'll get a reading. Some of them don't, but it's just entertainment for a lot of them. But I cannot tell you, and I think Aurora, you can attest to this too, how many people have come back and said, Ellen told me I was going to collect an insurance check, or Ellen told me I was going to get a job baking, and then later may not have hit them that moment, and it didn't resonate then, but then later on, they'll come back to me and say, spot on.
We have so many clients, a lot of my clients, who are very hesitant with Helen. And they're very, oh, no, I don't want a reading. They get their reading and then they come back and they're like, where is she? Like, we want to
Yeah, the
speak to her.
skeptics of the
We
world.
want to talk to her. She
Yeah.
was so right on with everything. And it's just
Yeah.
funny.
We haven't seen you for a little while.
I know, I miss my girls.
Well, you're going to have to come back.
And
Yes.
I've looked forward to getting to know you a little bit. I've heard so much now that I have been in
Thanks,
Noelle
me too,
Salon
you.
on Pleasant Street in Malden for a while now. I've been looking forward to this episode for quite a while. I don't know what to expect. As someone that you may say is a borderline skeptic, that doesn't mean I'm trying to insult what you do, but I haven't seen results yet. I haven't heard results yet. You know what I mean? I
Sure,
haven't heard
absolutely.
experiences or stories.
Well, with that being said, here is Dan.
Hi,
Diane.
Dan.
Met him for the first time today.
No pressure.
No, she didn't meet me for the first
Oh,
time
she did
today.
meet you once in the salon.
Now, did you? Let me
Very
ask,
briefly.
did you, with your talents, skills, did you sense anything about me that day? Or do you have to be in a zone to actually do these readings?
I don't have to be in a zone, but I'd like to be in a zone.
Can I just tell you, Ellen?
Sure.
I think that I know you read with or without cards. Your best readings are without cards.
Thanks.
When you just tune in
Yeah.
psychically. So that being said, here you are.
Okay.
There's a lovely Dan. Can you tune into him?
Actually, can I jump across the table first?
Oh, so
for a
okay. So
second?
Dan, explain
Yes, we're
who
joined by
we have.
one of our special interns here at the studio for production value. We'll call him Malachi Scott. He's a veteran of BJ's, and here he is today here
And
on
I hear he has a
Manners.
great voice at karaoke.
He's a great singer, too.
Yes. Welcome, Malachi.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. And I guess Dan asked me how I would describe myself. So I did my research, and I would say that a way to describe myself physically is a cross between Daryl Sabera and Ed Sheeran. At least those are
Oh,
the
Ed
two
Sheeran. I see that.
I see it.
Little children of the corn, too.
But don't say too much about yourself
I won't.
because that's up to Ellen to tell us.
I'm just giving the people here an imagination of what I
A
look
visual.
like.
Yeah, the little visual. You're a little gingery, little.
In case
Yeah.
you're making them
Little
feel
Ed
a little
Sheeran.
impure at home as they hear your voice.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Ellen. So you have him here.
Actually, when I saw you, Malachi, which is a beautiful name, do you do something with cars other than drive one? I mean, do you like cars or would like to collect them or do collect cars?
No, cars aren't really my primary interest. I mean, I will probably want to get one eventually, but I still don't have my license yet.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I feel
How about model cars, perhaps?
I felt
no?
a strong attraction to cars. But also, too, the other thing to know about this kind of work is that often what I, hear or see or whatever can be metaphorical.
Or it may come out later.
Later.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, are you, I'm not going to push the agenda here, but are you thinking about getting a license or moving forward with that?
Oh, I am going to plan to do it at some point. It's just hard for me to get motivated, mostly because our system of getting a license is pretty difficult for me as someone who has I wouldn't say it's a learning disability. Okay, maybe it is a little bit, but it's just I have a struggle with the system that's in place of taking tests and things, especially trying to study for it in a way that doesn't bore me.
Yeah, the permit test is difficult. So, okay, so what else do you feel from him?
Something about your senior year in high school, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but did you graduate from high school, or did something happen at the last minute?
I did graduate from high school, and I don't know if there was anything particularly eventful, but I definitely know that it was, I think the only thing significant I could remember about my high school graduation was I think it was one of my last times I saw my uncle before he died.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh, I'm
that's
sorry.
significant.
Okay.
That's quite significant.
I know.
I feel like somebody, too, was sitting in the front row watching you, which actually doesn't really make sense because it's the students that are usually sitting. But somebody was watching you very closely. And I'm seeing a white shirt. I don't know. Is there a teacher that you've stayed in contact with, or?
There was a teacher who helped me out during my time in high school. His name, I don't know if I should say it or not.
You can say it. It's safe.
Okay, Gary Benz. He was always my go-to person to help me. He was my aide for most of high school, up until the very end when I became a little bit more independent, though. He was always there for me in some of the classes.
Did he wear a white shirt?
Maybe he might have wore a white shirt. I don't
There
really
you go.
recall his clothing, but I definitely know that there was someone who was there for me, or at least someone who, of course, would be at my graduation, though there were probably some other teachers that I know who I developed more relationship with, though I think Gary Benz is the only one in particular that I've really kept in touch with.
Okay, yeah, I feel like he was watching you closely. Also, I do see you with a tennis racket and a tennis ball, but you haven't really started to play, or you're not good at it, but you like it. So who cares? I mean, you don't have to be on the Wimbledon or whatever.
I've only actually played tennis years ago. It wasn't really a sport thing. I think it was all the time I was hanging out with my grandma. I mean, she's really into tennis or something like that. So I guess it's because it's in the family. I guess maybe that's where you see it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because I'm not saying you playing it, but just holding it. But, again, who cares? It's just a game.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
never
have
played
fun
tennis.
with tennis,
Yeah,
Matt?
I love
Okay.
tennis.
Did you have fun with tennis?
I don't know if I really remember.
Anything else you're reading from him?
Anything about BJ's?
It's his
He's
employment.
immersed in
BJ.
BJ's right now. No, we're not going in the other direction, please.
Seeing
Oh,
lots of cardboard
oh my
boxes.
God.
We were talking about the store,
Yeah.
not any kind of
I was talking
innuendo.
about the store too.
All right.
Thank you very much. Yep.
The only other thing I'm seeing right now is it's a little bit odd. I'm seeing you sitting on the beach, but you don't like this. Are you allergic to sand? You don't like the sand. I feel like it irritates.
I think maybe what you're probably thinking of is, I think from the times I went to Cape Cod, I think last summer or something like that, it was not very comfortable going to the beach barefoot, not because of the sand, but mostly, not so much the sand itself, but because the heat, because stepping on sand when it's hot barefoot is no fun.
Yeah.
Hot
No.
sand, yeah.
Well, you got
Hot
it.
sand.
Yeah, hot sand, exactly.
Well, at least you don't have to work at BJ's barefoot. That might be difficult on the asphalt for several hours.
I
but
would love to hear him. Well, I don't want to say it. Did I already say that he's a singer? I already did. I gave it away.
Karaoke.
Do you see
yeah.
anything
Yeah.
with his music career?
Well, that might be when I said before about the metaphor with the cars. There is a card that actually, anytime I see this particular card, it's like, get going, get moving, and it's got a car on it. So it may be that, what are you waiting for? If you want to do something with your music, do something with your music.
Question for you, by the way. What is your favorite song?
That is a
I think I know the answer to that.
What is it? Give us the answer.
California Girls.
Can you
By
sing a
Katy
little
Perry?
bit of it? Is it Katy Perry or Beach Boys?
Beach Boys.
Oh,
Beach
okay.
Boys, definitely. The
Can you sing a
classic.
little bit of it?
The West Coast has the sunshine and the girls all get so tan. I dig a friend's bikini on Hawaiian Island all by a palm tree in the sand. Oh, was that
Nice.
good?
That was
Very
excellent.
nice.
So that's why you should further your career in that.
Yeah.
Get in that car that she's talking about.
Get in that
Don't
car.
Stop. Don't stop, brother.
That's excellent. Well, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think you've covered enough with Malachi.
How do you feel?
How do you feel about the reading?
You feel better about BJ's at all?
I wouldn't say that.
Sand,
We
no.
tried. We tried.
You can ask any questions too.
Yeah.
if you have
Coarse,
a-
rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Oh, so
Well,
you can
maybe
ask
you
questions.
Could ask her,
Yeah.
Malachi, do you see yourself at BJ's much longer? I know you'd kind of like to leave.
I don't know.
You
I
don't
mean,
know.
I guess maybe we'll see what happens by October or
Well,
something.
ask her. Maybe she could tell you, enlighten you.
Well, you
it's
know,
like a
I-
weather forecast.
I do have to say that you have to have some faith and some trust. I do feel that your audiences may be a little smaller than you might like in the beginning, but people are it's going to gradually grow. So don't be discouraged if you look out in the audience and there aren't many people. The word's going to get around.
You are
Okay.
talented. I heard your voice, and I've heard from Dan and others here, the professor and others, that you are quite a talent.
I like just trying to find that opportunity to utilize it. And I'm glad that I'm finding more opportunities for myself as well as maybe branching out into other things, including why I'm interning here is to try out other options for myself, especially trying to branch out into the media field.
Well, Dan, explain what his internship is here.
He is one of the intern specialists we've had here at the studio going on now quite a long time. Most internships only last perhaps 2 months to a quarter of a year, but yeah, this gentleman is so in tune with what's going on here at the studio. He's been here since all the way back a little bit before Halloween.
Wow,
It's the
very
internship that
good.
doesn't end.
It doesn't.
He's the Wednesday afternoon special.
Okay, well that's great. So let's turn over to Dan because I know Dan very well, and I'd like to
I
see
know, I
what
think-
you have to say.
I think you want to know the answers more than I do, 'cause I know how unique you are. but-
I'm unique,
Oh,
yes,
let's
of
see.
course. Ellen knows that too.
Well, I know you might not call yourself a skeptic, but you do have some hesitation.
Yes,
So
yes.
should we start there? What is it about this work?
I would like to believe it's true, but I also have, I don't know if a fear is the right word, but it spooks me out a little bit. It spooks me out a little, Ellen, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's valid. I would say most people that are a little bit skeptical, it is because of fear. I would say that's probably the most. Sometimes people are actually shaking when they sit down.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
like that.
Well, because I think going back to what you said in the beginning, too, as far as are we real or are we not real, and people tend to remember the bad things.
Mhm.
Like they saw a psychic one time and she told them that, they were going to die and, that kind of thing.
actually read your energy for that moment. I don't know that they're actually what they say may come to fruition, but they're good energy readers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the time element, when you said before, sometimes it can take a while.
Yeah.
Because in my world, time is only an idea.
Right.
I feel like right now, actually, you're pretty happy in where you are right now in your life. Actually, I kind of feel like that had to do with the choice of the color that you wore today.
Oh, really? I
can
called it
can
the laundry, but that's okay.
It's pink.
It's pink. if,
It's a nice
for those
color
of you
on
that
you,
can't
too.
see through the radio, but and it's not like a man pink where I'm a real man, I can wear pink. But I do feel like right now you're content. But if I asked you why, you'd be a little hard put to say why. It's not that everything is as it should be or is in place, but you kind of feel like everything's okay right now. I do feel that I'm actually seeing a wave, like an ocean wave, that you kind of are expecting something on the horizon is what I'm hearing. It's not a big wave. It's not a tidal wave. You're not going to get sucked under anything like that. But I also feel that you feel that at this point, did you almost have an amputation situation, or there was a danger? I feel like there was something almost life-threatening or limb-threatening.
The disease that I suffer from as a result of the accident, amputations were thrown around at one point, but I don't know how close to fruition it ever came.
Okay, and is it that foot?
It actually winds up in both feet, and both knees, and my lower back.
Oh, okay, but did it start with that
Yes,
foot?
actually, the night, the CRPS, I remember the incident that had happened, it was because of the right foot.
Okay. And that one swells more.
Probably.
You know, when so you
Yeah.
resist the kind of orderliness. So, but at the same time, I feel that this new calmness is you've stopped fighting. So your desk is a mess. Maybe, other people will have reactions to it, but it's your desk, And I actually am seeing you tipping it over and going through stuff. And it's like, okay, so there's not a desk where the desk should be anymore, but, I know where this is. And so you have stopped fighting yourself in some pretty important ways.
Well, good.
So it's good. Now, this is a little bit personal.
Yes, please.
I've never, you're walking with a cane.
I call it a desk of productivity.
It is
It's a
for
lot
some.
of active.
Somebody else might call it something.
Well, you have showed me pictures of the swelling you get in
Yes,
that foot.
yes.
So it does get swollen.
Yeah, and also,
Grotesque.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, in the old days when they used to use leeches and things like that, I do feel like it's almost like it collects fluid that could stand to be removed. So, and again, you should talk to your doctor before you take any of my advice, but something that will relieve swelling.
No
like-
leeches.
yeah. But why not? They're big in Hollywood.
They're very big. Yes, I've seen them on faces of movie stars.
but
I
On
know one that lives in
faces?
Saugus that used to leach under my wallet, but that's a different story for a different time.
Yeah, exactly.
even something like Epsom.
So what I came up with, for the people at home that may be unfamiliar with this, that have never done it before, that might not even believe in it at all, that may think this is a joke and a farce, that there's no truth to it, I came up with 3 little, I don't know if questions or topics would be the right way to present it to you. And maybe we could write it down and then look back on it in X amount of time, and we have you back here.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
So you have the questions?
In my brain, I do.
Yes.
Oh.
Now, I asked her earlier, I said, do you know what the answer is now? And she said, no, it'd be very boring to know what people thought. And I respected that. Go ahead.
Well, you prefaced it with, I should know what somebody's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a common misconception, that psychics are mind readers. I mean, there are some people that are what's called telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
You can read each other's minds or, finish these other sentences, that kind of thing. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. It can be a real pain. It can,
Do you finish
somebody in
each
your
other's
head.
sentence?
Not so much each other's sentences, but to be in each other's heads.
Oh, I feel
I
like.
feel that, too.
Oh my God, I felt that. I feel it with you.
I know.
I felt
We
it.
finish each other's sentences, and you feel it with your husband, right?
I feel it. Yeah, but it's also like more emotional.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
But-
emotionally draining because
Exactly.
you feel like this
It's-
person's emotion and feeling.
Especially when a
is-
client leaves their chair too. Sometimes
Yep.
when you're just touching their head or something, and you just start hearing what they're thinking about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I know
don't
you're
want-
looking at
sounds
me crazy, Dan.
But I mean, I think in general, though, we are a little bit more connected.
Women, and then our family.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think us specifically, not just. I feel like we're very connected with.
Well, women are
Spiritual.
allowed to. We're allowed to be more intuitive. If
How
a
can we
man
not
tells
be?
you.
How can we not be?
Yeah, exactly. And men are too. It's
Yeah, they're
that
just
they
not
don't get
open
to it,
enough.
or we don't. Our society, we don't necessarily let them. But
Right,
and it's just, it can be the same with telepathy.
Well, I actually hear people like, I wish she'd take her hands off me right now, or she's hurting me or burning me.
Yeah, and it can be tough.
And that's, it's hard. But so anyway, Dan, what are your questions?
My
Let's hear
first
you.
question, this one again will be great to go back to. December 28th of this year, 2019, I have one of the more important days of my life coming up. Do you see anything good, bad, or somewhere in the middle about this date? It is
Okay,
a
so
Saturday.
it's after Christmas.
It is.
Santa brought you what you wanted, so it's not a Santa related question.
Santa hasn't visited me in a couple decades. But It's more of a live event production.
Well, I see you setting something aside for this. So
My sanity.
well,
Work.
But actually, so when you said live, and I really don't know what it is that you do. I mean, I'm not sure if you work here all
I'm
the
trying
time.
to figure that out myself.
Well, it may, and I'm seeing you setting aside a machine. So when you said it's live, are you used to working like in a recording kind
This
of?
is going to be at a hall. It's going to
Okay.
be a live event with patrons that come in and
Okay,
purchase tickets and
Well, I do. Are you the MC?
it's along
supposed to be-
those lines.
Okay, the one thing I do see as a challenge is it's going to be really noisy.
Oh,
You're
well,
gonna
we
have
like
to-
that. That means there'll be a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it also means too that if you're the person that's the head of it, or the host or the MC or whatever, you're going to feel that you're not being heard. But that's kind of the nature of the beast. So I would say don't focus on that.
Okay.
Just forge forward. I do feel like it's going to be a noisier than usual room, and that's certainly something that you can understand as the people go out to hear music, but then they sit and talk, and you're up there, feeling pretty lonely and sad. So just keep doing it, because truthfully, I feel like it doesn't really matter what everybody else is doing. What you're doing is it's part of it, but you don't need their input at that moment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
Now-
forge ahead the
Just
way I
keep
see
going,
fit.
just keep
Okay.
going, yep.
Okay.
I do see you writing a lot. I don't, maybe
That is
taking
true, yep.
down people's,
Mhm.
that night in particular,
Yep.
taking down people's names. I would actually suggest maybe you bring somebody with you as like an assistant.
I have one.
Okay, good, because
No.
yeah, hired on the spot.
He can take you, Ellen.
I have terrible handwriting, but you're going to need help. You can't do everything.
Oh, I have. You know what? That has been one of my biggest problems. But the way I have the December 28th event planned out, there will be a substantial amount of help for me.
Okay,
so I think
'cause you
that'll
need it.
alleviate. Good.
Yeah,
thank you.
because you can't talk to everybody at once.
Exactly. Thank
And
you.
you need their information, and you only have, from what I can see, you only have two arms. You can't.
That's right. They
you
don't
can't
work all
gather
that
all the
well, so there you
information.
go.
Also, too, I would come prepared for that. Really think ahead. For instance, it would be easier to keep the information on index cards,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, as opposed to ripping off a little piece of paper. Not that you do things
Mm-hmm.
so off the cuff, but really give it some thought. What is the best way for me to collect information that's going to be the easiest to get it afterward? And I do feel that there's a follow-up to this event, not necessarily another event.
Well, there is actually. Maybe that's what you sound.
Okay, but it's like it'll refer back to that event, maybe the same group of people, or now I do see, and again, when I see things, it can be metaphorical.
All right, I'm ready.
Almost seeing you holding tickets like a raffle.
We do that at every event.
Oh, do you?
It's-
Okay.
The event is going to be in conjunction with a toy drive that I do every year.
Oh, cool,
So
okay.
that'll be part of it. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And actually, that's one of the few times that people might actually be paying attention to you. So don't
I'm
be
used to that. I'm
Okay.
used to that.
don't be discouraged. But I do feel it's going to go well. Going back to your question,
well,
because I'm seeing people, mostly men. I don't know if
Yep, yep.
coming and like patting you on the back.
I'll take that.
So
It's better than a.
yeah, I think it'll.
Kick in the ass.
That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to use the language like that, Noelle.
You
Please.
use all that language all the time. So, okay, so that was one question. Why don't we say what it is? It's a wrestling event.
It's a big event, and there is going to be some highly leveraged guests we're going to have, high-profile guests that could perhaps land me in a position I've wanted to go back to now for 18 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's a big
Oh,
night
that may
for
be the
impression.
referring back part.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, who knows?
Who
We'll
knows?
see. We'll see. But because interesting things sometimes come out of how things are said and what it.
Yeah, the words you use.
Yeah, how it plays out. But it certainly makes sense in terms of the noise. I mean, there's no
Oh,
such
yeah.
thing as a quiet wrestling event.
No.
Is there?
We're going to have a ticket with your name on it waiting at the door if you'd like to come.
Oh, I'd love to.
Well, you're welcome.
I might
You're
not
welcome to
watch,
come.
but I'll, because,
You can check out the men.
Hit each
Or
other.
maybe the men will check you out.
There's a
Maybe.
lot of men there, yeah.
What happened here?
To the second one, now this one may be even long-term more interesting than me. There is this ruthless individual that lives several miles from here that has taken 2 children I took care of like my own from me. Do you see her fighting or overcoming her inner anger and hatred in life and trying to bring things back to normal again?
Well, the first thing I saw immediately
You
was,
was disgusted, I could tell. It was quite a
well,
reaction.
I saw somebody with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
She's out for you. I'm sorry to.
Really?
But it's weird because you know what I'm hearing is that you're not a moving target. That's why I think it has something to do with the feet. You're not really a moving target. It's not like you're doing anything to make it worse. Let me put it like that, which is good. But I do think you need to be a little bit more strategic about it. You know, if it were a business situation with a man, you would be responding quite differently.
Oh,
and,
definitely.
You know, and I have to say, I think you maybe need to think more along those lines.
Have I been too cowardly?
Well, I don't know the cowardly, because I think you did. If you were so, you did so for the right reasons, because
Oh, sure.
for the kids. But I do feel that you haven't. That you feel to approach it like you would maybe a business situation, using your own word, is a little bit too ruthless. And, you know, it is not so much a fighting fire with fire situation, is putting out the fire. You know, I am saying you throwing a big bucket of water on the fire, and, you know, it's hard for that not. Do you still see the children? Or you
As little as it has turned into, yeah.
Okay.
But I would like it to go back to somewhere near where it was in the quote-unquote good old days.
And you're not the father.
I'm
you're
not the biological dad.
Oh, you picked that up.
Yeah, but
Well, maybe she just asked.
No, she just said not the father. I would this conversation.
you.
I would have assumed you were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, no, I never felt like you were the father. But I do think you may want to do something legally, or at least
I don't
put
think
that,
he has any right though.
or put that on the table, because I think,
Scare her about all the money she owes me?
well, if you know, when people owe you money and that can be proven or whatever. But, or at least I would say seek the advice. You're not the first man that's been in a family situation that without contracts, which basically, to take all the romance out of it, is what a marriage is. In some ways it does make it easier, because you can say this began and ended or whatever. And certainly it's becoming more common these days. You know, less marriage and more, whether it be
Living
common law.
situations, right.
Well, you're not without rights. So I would say, if, at the very least, investigate that. So, you're clear, too. Do you in fact have any rights or not? But I'm sorry if this is coming on a little strong,
not
but
at all.
how long can you be a sitting duck? And what I then heard that after is that the ground rots from under you. When anything sits too long, it just rots. Okay, so
So I need to move the feet.
you need to do something, because you know what? That might be why I'm seeing her shooting at your feet. She's basically immobilized you. You're not able to do anything about this, or you don't think you can about the situation.
Wow.
But I would argue that.
Well, it's a different approach to take, that's for sure. I really don't mention the money.
No, well, there's a really good book. It's probably the only book I ever tell people that is worth reading, I believe. It's called The Wisdom of the Owl. And it's basically, staying one step ahead, and you can still be a nice person. And I think you're pretty much a nice guy. And
Well, thank you.
You would have rather to have been able to do things the adult, mature way. But unfortunately, it doesn't always go like that. And it doesn't feel right to you to fight the way that you truthfully might like to fight.
That I would in another situation with another person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great
exactly.
way to look at it.
But it's not helping.
But
And
I
it's keeping
think.
you.
Can I just tell you? I
Yeah.
think as those kids get older, they can make their own decision too.
Sure.
And they're
Yeah.
not little. So, I think eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, it can.
Well,
it
you're
can
not
happen.
the psychic, though.
But she is.
But I'm smart. No.
You
was
are
gonna
smart.
say.
You are smart.
But I think your original question, is she going to change? She's not going
Okay, I'm going to ask a question for him. when is he going to find love? I want him to find love.
Find
I have
love.
it. I go to Noelle Salon every
You
day.
get love, of course. And there are probably women there who want to
Romantic
give you
love.
some love, but we want you to have romantic,
Romantic
true
love.
love in your heart.
Well, I don't. Right now, I feel like you don't really want it. You're right now.
You
you're
really
not
don't.
particularly. You're just
Is he
not
still
really.
pining over the other
No,
woman?
he's just.
You made my day. Thank you. They say, "Oh, you're still in love with her."
No, no.
That's not it at all.
He would love if she just put down the bow and arrow.
If
He
you
would
stop
love
fighting.
to stop.
Yeah,
just
of
stop.
course, yeah.
You know that would.
I know that
but right
too,
now,
but-
I'm hearing 6. I don't know if that would be 6 months or 6 years. But
Oh, my gosh.
I would have to say it may happen right before your very eyes. I do think
6 days.
6 hours.
Do you think he'll meet someone in the
I
salon
wouldn't
since
be
it's a new
surprised.
environment
And
for
you
him?
You are typically a love at first sight kind of a person, but somebody's going to act.
Dan's
knock your-
blushing. You
Yeah,
are legitimately
he
blushing.
is.
Oh, and I just had a look to see if he was wearing
Oh.
socks. It's like they're going to knock your socks off.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I wear the short
Yeah.
socks.
So
we
is there
already
anything
started.
we can look out for? Any description of this person?
Oh, you'll know. You'll all know because all of a sudden he's going to come
Yeah.
over and it'll be like,
Yeah, because he's very critical of women. Very critical.
No, I am.
Oh,
I'm
you
observant.
are
There's
so
a big
observant
difference.
and
There's a
critical.
big
Please.
difference.
He
Awkward
is.
word.
He's very
He's
observant.
very observant and critical. But that's good.
Well, can I put a
Sure.
maybe Pollyanna / positive spin on it?
Yes, please.
He, I would say, well, a Virgo, they're also really hard on themselves, and
Yeah.
and
He is.
they take it seriously and they take it hard.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Given the opportunity, a Virgo will save the world. But
But he's on the cusp, so
yeah, which is
he's
thank
got some
God.
other side
Yeah,
there
Virgo.
too.
I'm a Libra, and I'm on the other cusp, and it's a good cusp to
So
be
you're
on.
around October, November.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's rough on both sides. But at the core of it, though, you know what it is that you want, but you haven't found it. And but this can help.
And to be fair, I'm in no rush. I'm not
Yeah,
the
you're
type
not.
that says, "Oh, well, I'm certain amount of age at a certain amount of location. I have to have a wife and 2.3 kids at this point." I would rather not put myself in a situation that I don't feel like is going to have great longevity to it, if that makes any sense.
But
I know
it'll-
Aurora's bored with me right now, but that's all right. Have another sip of the coffee, hon. Come on.
I'm all done with it. You're gonna
Okay.
get me another one.
Well, I think you've been pretty spot on with Jan. Anything
thank
else
you.
you'd like to share with Aurora or myself?
Oh, yeah.
She's looking at Aurora.
I have to say one thing is, honestly, I am not. I don't embrace psychics, but you gave me an experience, our first reading, and I went into it saying to you, like, I'm closed off. I don't know how I feel about this. And when clients ask me all the time, like, oh, how is she? What do you think? I always go back to that experience that you hit something with me, and maybe it's not all the time, but this one time.
Yeah,
And I started
yeah.
crying with you.
I
and
know, actually,
it was
that
just
was-
so
that
deep,
was-
and
I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's
and
nice.
so I'm not always right there with you when
No,
you want to
she-
read, and sometimes
yeah,
in
which
my
is
own
fine.
world.
But we're working too.
Yeah,
She's
no, for
talking.
sure.
Yeah.
But there was that. I'll never forget that time, and whatever you hit on, even if it was just like nothing to do with your psychic ability, and you just hit it. It was
Yeah.
amazing for me. So
Thank you.
I always tell
Thanks.
people
Yeah,
that.
it was. I remember that reading.
Well,
too.
do you
It
think
was-
she'll have another baby?
Well, we want her to have another baby.
I'd
do
love to
we?
see
I
it.
don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been the house looking. You know,
Mm-hmm.
actually, now that you've asked,
Mm.
I think the baby might become like the presence of another baby might come before the house.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. This hadn't really come to me before that. It's you don't really have the full picture of the house yet because you don't have the full family yet.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a boy, and I don't
Oh.
usually say that.
oh
Yeah.
yay! A boy coming
Yeah.
your way.
Oh,
I'm so
goodness.
happy.
And just gorgeous. Oh my God.
Oh, Stella's
curly
her
hair and
baby
yeah,
now
yeah,
is
yeah. Well, you make
gorgeous.
pretty babies.
Oh, thank you.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it still we all still have to be patient and wait a little.
What about
a little
me?
while.
Anything?
You were going to take an unexpected vacation
Oh, please.
this summer.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
very unexpected.
And
let's
long,
say
a
that
nice
much.
one, like 3 weeks, a good
Oh,
one.
bull. Oh, no, Ellen. Come on. All right.
I got the front
See how
desk.
she
Don't
is with
worry.
me?
Hey, you never know.
All right. Yeah. I haven't had a 3 weeks off ever.
But I know, but I
All
think.
right, so you see that.
Well, it might be. It might be almost that something. Oh gosh.
You can be candid. Go.
Okay, something's going to happen in the shop, and it may have to close. So it's like, well, wow, I can't work.
Oh
might
my
as well.
gosh! Like, what's going to happen in the
Nothing
shop? Not
too
another
bad.
flood or
Oh,
something.
wow,
Man,
that's
man,
not
funny
even,
you should-
that's not even
No.
the worst I was thinking.
Oh no, what were you
God,
thinking?
what's the
Like I was
worst you
going to
were
drop
thinking?
dead, Malachi.
No.
Oh,
Oh my God.
Go
You know-
back to BJ's.
so
No, nothing. Nobody will get hurt. No, nothing like threatening. But maybe it might be a pipe or something like that.
Oh, I already had that happen before.
Well, are your pipes really?
Terrible.
okay.
Yeah, maybe you're
Oh.
reading like 4 years ago when the whole shop was flooded in the middle of winter at 0 degrees.
Oh well, this time at least the weather.
They're
was
not
fine.
have my
I feel
the
like
staff not working, right?
did-
Or are we going
Of
to work?
course.
Stop you.
But maybe that's a good way that Noelle will.
There, I came in
To try and save the place. How did you know it was wet?
because I think I could not get a hold of our cameras.
Oh, you
So
were
something
snooping a little bit.
automatic.
see.
Well, I always looked at the
No,
cameras, and something
Tell
automatically
him.
hit me.
that there was missing in action.
I said, "What the heck's going on?"
We
And
ha-
I came in, and when I tell you, it was nuts.
You had to
So
paint
did you
the
open the
walls.
door and did the water
Oh, we
come
had to
out?
do everything.
Everything.
Oh, water was coming out forever. I seriously, you
It was
don't
awful.
you don't see that.
You don't see that
catastrophe,
extreme, do you? How about
No.
this? You just take a vacation. She sees you at the beach. That's the water that you're seeing.
All right. Anything else?
She sees you in a group of 3
She's
on the
done.
beach.
Group of 3. I'm screwed.
Now, why don't you ask her some of the pending questions that you
No,
have
she
going
knows.
Are you going to cut your hair off? Why do I feel like you want to cut your hair really short? I know it's not even an important thing.
Oh God, no, no, no.
I'm
I
not.
mean, there's people who cut their hair in support of cancer, I think.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'd have to give up my extensions, so I don't know that they'd want them.
You could just
That
cut the
won't
I'm just saying
extension.
that there's a possible reason, at least I would think of.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey, but I do really. I'm feeling like a vacation. It's going to be great.
A vacation due to a flood. So, if you want to find Ellen, they can actually get a hold of our salon, and we'll refer people to you, Ellen. So it's Noelle at noellesalon.com. And we want to thank you for being here with us today. And Dan, of course, you're very quiet, very, very mild-mannered today. And Malachi, of course. Dan, why don't you take us out?
Well, thank you for joining the hostesses with the mostest once again here on Hair Matters. It's been great to sit down with our good friend Ellen Damsky to inside the mind of the psychic herself to see how it works, what could be happening, what may happen. We'll have to see if we're even going to have a salon to do a podcast about after this summer. We special thanks go out to our good friend Malachi
man.
Scott for being a great subject. Until we speak again, get ready for another great episode of Hair Matters next week. Same bat time, same bat station. For all your hair needs, check us out, 347 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. NoelleSalon.com.